Katrina Vanden Heuvel, I wanted to turn for a moment to the issue of Russia-U.S. relations. You've been a long-time analyst on Russia. The reaction of the Obama victory last week from Russian President Dmitry Medvedev.
The conflict in the Caucasus was used as a pretext for sending NATO warships to the Black Sea, and then the forceful foisting of Europe of America's anti-missile system, which in turn will entail retaliatory measures by Russia. We do not have problems with the American people. We are not born anti-American. We hope that our partner, the new administration of the United States, will make a choice of fully fledged relations with Russia.
Russian President Medvedev. Katrina Vanden Heuvel.
Well, I'm glad you played that clip, Amy, because so much of the corporate mainstream press has played that speech as the new Cold War, Dmitry Medvedev laying down the gauntlet. Well, you heard him say that he is open to a new relationship with this administration. Part of the disaster of these last years has been the expansion of NATO, moving into attempts to move it into Georgia and Ukraine, and then this anti-missile. I hate to call it anti-missile because it's a technology that doesn't work against a threat that doesn't exist, but that's where they're drawing the line in this speech. He said, he went on to say, Medvedev, that they will begin to station missiles in Kaliningrad if the United States proceeds with stationing interceptors and radars in the Czech Republic and Poland. The sadness of it all, as you know, is that this doesn't provide real security. It's a technology that isn't really tested, doesn't work, and the Czech people in a referendum oppose this. So it's kind of on all fronts, undermining security, undermining democracy, undermining sovereignty, and we need to reset U.S.-Russian relations. And I think the Obama administration, it's a problem because I would argue that our media and our policy class has less debate about U.S.-Russian relations today than it did during the Cold War, meaning that it's one hand clapping and very few understand the need to reset U.S.-Russian relations. The Washington Post this past Sunday had the British historian Alistair Horn. They didn't have an American speaking about the need to have a new partnership. You showed the piece about Iran. Russia is needed to work with the United States and the Europeans with Iran in combating terrorism and in fighting nuclear proliferation, Amy, in one, because that remains a very serious problem. Good news is Obama has spoken, as have others, about building a nuclear-free world and abolishing nuclear weapons. So there's stuff on the table to work towards.
Also, on the recent war between Georgia and Russia, Obama basically bought into the viewpoint that Russia was the aggressor in the conflict there.
You know, Juan, first of all, Amy read earlier something very important, which is that international monitors have established what has been known, and the media, especially the Washington Post, has ignored fact that it was Georgia that launched this war, which is a humanitarian catastrophe above all. We have to stop and find a way to stop the hypermilitarization. Obama's first reaction in mid-August, August 7th, 8th, 9th, was to talk about taking this to the UN. In the vortex of a campaign, with McCain playing the national security card as hard as he could because it was the only one he really had, Obama did move. And I think Obama needs other advisors to speak to him about the need to reset U.S.-Russian relations. But his first instinct was one that showed a sense that you had to engage Russia and not make this into support for Georgia exclusively. I would say that his vice president is someone who has been an ardent advocate of NATO expansion. NATO is an institution that should be dismantled, in my view. We don't need it in this time. It is primarily a military institution. So I would argue for ending the expansion of NATO, halting this military defense deployment, and I think you could see the possibilities of new U.S.-Russian relations, and the Obama administration would be wise to think hard about that.
Katrina Vanden Heuvel, I want to thank you for being with us, editor and publisher of The Nation magazine, longtime analyst on U.S.-Russian relations. Her latest editorial in The Nation is called The First 100 Days. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. Back in a minute.